What if I told you that everything you've ever desired is already yours, that you don't need to chase it, pray for it, or wait for it, you only need to believe you already are it? The secret isn't in becoming more, it's in remembering who you truly are. Because the moment you see yourself as already fulfilled, the world has no choice but to reflect that truth back to you. You are not separated from what you want. You are separated only by the illusion that you are not it. The very moment you feel lack, you push your desire away. But the instant you claim it in imagination, when you accept that you are already what you seek to be, the walls of separation dissolve. Every desire is a call from your higher self, inviting you to embody a new state of consciousness. You do not chase it, you become it. Stop waiting for signs in the outer world. The outer world is only a reflection, a delayed photograph of your inner assumptions. Instead, enter the inner world and dare to live there. Close your eyes and feel the wish fulfilled. Hear the words that would be spoken if it were true. Feel the tones of reality within your imagination. Persist in that assumption until it feels natural, and nature will confirm it. Becoming one with your desire is not effort, it is acceptance. It is quiet conviction, the calm knowing that what you imagine and feel real must manifest. Do not wonder how or when. The how is not your concern. The how is the work of the unseen power that animates all life. Your task is simply to remain faithful, to walk inwardly in the state of the fulfilled desire until it becomes your dwelling place. So tonight, clothe yourself in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Assume it as though it were already yours. Live, move, and breathe in that new state. When you do, the world will rearrange itself to mirror your inner certainty, and you will know the truth of Neville's words: you are already that which you wish to be. You and your desire are one in consciousness, because desire itself is born from within you. It is not something separate, floating outside, waiting to be reached. It is an expression of your own awareness, calling you to recognize a greater version of yourself. The moment you sense a desire, it means that version already exists within your consciousness, waiting to be acknowledged. When you identify with it, when you feel its reality and live from it inwardly, you fuse with it completely. There is no distance between you and what you seek. Only the belief that there is separation is only an illusion of thought, because everything that appears distant or unattainable is created by the mind's perception of division. The moment you think something is outside of you, you give life to the illusion of space, time, and effort between yourself and your desire. But consciousness knows no distance, it simply is. Every image, every desire, every imagined scene lives within the same field of awareness that you are. When you believe you must struggle, reach, or wait, you reinforce the illusion of two, you and it. Yet the truth is there is only one being expressing itself in infinite forms. When you think of your desire as separate, you delay its appearance. But when you assume unity, when you feel that what you seek is already a part of you, the illusion fades. The outer world begins to reflect that inner knowing. All boundaries dissolve in imagination, for imagination is oneness in action. Every experience you long for already exists within your awareness, waiting to be recognized. The sense of separation is merely a temporary misalignment of thought, a false belief in distance, and the instant you change that thought, the bridge to your desire is instantly crossed. Every desire is an invitation to embody a new state, a silent call from within that urges you to rise into a higher expression of yourself. Desire is not something to suppress or resist. It is the language through which consciousness speaks to you. When a new desire is born, it is life itself showing you another dimension of being that you are ready to inhabit. You do not chase it or struggle to make it happen. You become it by inwardly accepting its reality as yours. Every desire carries within it the seed of fulfillment, and your role is to nurture that seed through feeling and imagination. To embody a new state means to shift your inner identity. You stop thinking as the person who wants and begin to think, feel, and act as the one who already has. This inner movement is not forced, it is a gentle assumption, a quiet knowing that what you long for already exists within consciousness. As you persist in this feeling, the old state loses power, and the new state becomes natural. You start to speak differently, walk differently, and think differently because your awareness has expanded into its new form. Desire is never random. It is precise guidance, leading you toward the version of yourself that already holds the fulfillment you seek. The outer world only mirrors your inner occupancy. So when you inhabit the new state completely, the world must rearrange itself to match your new identity. This is the sacred process of creation, not through effort or willpower, but through alignment with the unseen reality you have chosen to live in. Each desire is an opportunity to remember your creative power, to step into the consciousness of your fulfilled self, and to let life reflect that assumption in perfect order. The outer world reflects your inner assumptions because life has no reality apart from what you believe and accept as true within yourself. Every event, circumstance, and encounter you experience is a mirror image of the state of consciousness you occupy. The world around you is not separate from you. It is shaped and molded by the invisible activity of your inner world. When you assume something to be true, even without physical evidence, you impress that belief upon the subconscious mind, and the subconscious faithfully projects it outward into form and experience. You are not reacting to the world is reacting to you. Your assumptions act as filters through which you perceive reality. Two people can live under the same sky, yet experience completely different worlds because their inner states differ. One who assumes abundance sees opportunity everywhere, while one who assumes limitation encounters only struggle. It is not fate or luck that determines their experiences, but the silent pattern of thought and feeling that each consistently maintains within. The outer world is neutral until you give it meaning through assumption. Whatever you inwardly accept as true must express itself, for consciousness forever externalizes its contents. To change your world, you must first change your assumptions. It is useless to fight the shadows on the wall when the light source is within. Stop trying to manipulate outer conditions, for they are only reflections of your inner beliefs. Instead, withdraw attention from appearances and assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Live inwardly as the person who already possesses what they desire. Feel it, believe it, and persist in it until it feels natural. The outer reflection cannot resist the inner conviction. It must conform. When you understand this law, you stop blaming circumstances and start reclaiming your power. You realize that every experience, pleasant or unpleasant, reveals something you have assumed to be true about yourself or life. This awareness is liberation, for it gives you the ability to consciously choose what to assume. The moment you change the conception of yourself, the outer world reorganizes itself in harmony with that change. What you call reality is simply your assumptions made visible through time. Imagination is the creative act of becoming, for through imagination you enter the state of what you desire to be and give it life. Every creation begins first as an image within the mind, and this inner vision, when accepted as real, molds itself into the outer world. Imagination is not daydreaming or idle fantasy. It is the sacred power through which all things are made. It is the invisible workshop of consciousness, where unseen possibilities are shaped into visible reality. When you imagine, you are not merely observing, you are participating in creation itself, moving from being the one who wants to being the one who already is. To imagine is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is to look beyond appearances and claim a truth not yet seen by the physical eye. The outer world follows imagination as shadow follows light. Every invention, every discovery, every work of art, and every transformation in human life began as an act of imagination. The power that imagined flight created the airplane. The power that imagined healing created medicine. And the power that imagines love, peace, and abundance creates them in experience. What you hold in imagination with feeling and faith must externalize, for imagination and reality are two sides of the same coin. Imagination works best in stillness. When the mind is quiet and detached from outer distractions, you can more easily enter the inner scene and feel its reality. To become what you imagine, you must give it the full emotional acceptance that it already exists. You see yourself in possession of the desired state. You feel the joy of its fulfillment. You hear the sounds and words that confirm it, and in doing so, you impress the subconscious mind with its truth. The subconscious, being creative and obedient, brings forth that image into form through circumstances you could never predict. This creative act is continuous, whether you are aware of it or not. Every assumption, every reaction, every image you hold with conviction is an act of imagination shaping your world. The power is never inactive. It is always creating according to your dominant inner pictures. Therefore, to live consciously is to imagine deliberately. You do not wait for life to show you what to believe. You decide what to believe and let life mirror it back. When imagination becomes your reality, you rise above limitation. You begin to see that nothing is fixed and everything is fluid, waiting for your inner command. Imagination is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, the unseen cause of every seen effect. To imagine with purpose is to awaken the creative self, the part of you that knows no boundaries or impossibilities. Through imagination, you become the author of your life, shaping experiences not by chance but by choice, transforming desire into being through the simple act of inward creation. Feeling the wish fulfilled unites you with it, because feeling is the bridge between imagination and reality. Thought alone may construct the idea, but feeling gives it life, energy, and substance. When you feel something as real, you merge with it in consciousness, and what you are conscious of being must eventually externalize itself. Every state of being is defined by feeling, and when you occupy a feeling completely, you are no longer separate from the condition it represents. To feel the wish fulfilled is to rest in the conviction that what you desire is already accomplished, that it exists now in the invisible realm of consciousness, and will soon take shape in the outer world. The mind can imagine many things, but only those accompanied by feeling impress the subconscious. Feeling is the secret language of creation, the invisible current through which all manifestation flows. The subconscious does not reason or question. It accepts whatever feeling you consistently hold as truth. When you imagine your desire and feel its fulfillment, you are telling the deeper part of yourself, "This is my reality." The subconscious then reorganizes events, people, and circumstances to align with that assumption. It is not the effort of action, but the persistence of feeling that determines what appears in your life. To feel the wish fulfilled is to live inwardly in the end, to sense the emotional atmosphere of the goal as though it were already achieved. This is not pretending or hoping. It is claiming ownership of a new state of being. You may begin by constructing a simple imaginal scene that implies success, happiness, or completion. As you repeat it with full emotional acceptance, it becomes vivid and alive. Eventually, the feeling of having it becomes more natural than the feeling of wanting it. That shift marks the moment of union, the point where you and your desire become one in consciousness. Feeling is not forced, it is allowed. You relax into it as you would relax into sleep, surrendering the old state of lack and taking up residence in fulfillment. The world outside may still show the old reflection, but you no longer react to it. You remain faithful to the new feeling within, knowing that outer reality must eventually conform to inner conviction. Everything you experience is a mirror of what you have felt to be true about yourself. So by maintaining the feeling of fulfillment, you ensure that only fulfillment can return to you. Feeling is creative because it defines identity. When you feel successful, loved, secure, or free, you are not waiting for proof. You are being it. Life then arranges itself to support that being. This is why it is said that what you seek is seeking you. Both exist on the same frequency of feeling. The moment you tune yourself to that frequency through inner emotion, you and the desire are magnetically drawn together. There is no gap, no waiting, no distance. Only one continuous flow of consciousness expressing itself in form. The more natural the feeling of fulfillment becomes, the faster it solidifies into experience. You begin to walk, speak, and think from that inner certainty, and every movement of your life starts to reflect it. The feeling becomes your dwelling place, your state of consciousness, and consciousness is always expressed. When you consistently live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you harmonize with its reality so completely that manifestation is inevitable. What once seemed a dream transforms into the very substance of your life. For feeling is the creative key that unites the seen and the unseen into one living reality. Faithfulness in imagination brings manifestation, because imagination is the creative power that shapes the unseen into the seen, and faithfulness to it determines the certainty and speed of its expression. To be faithful in imagination means to hold unwavering loyalty to the inner vision regardless of outer appearances. It means remaining steadfast in the assumption of the wish fulfilled even when everything in the external world seems to deny it. Most people imagine vividly for a moment, but then quickly abandon their vision when results do not appear instantly. They let doubt, fear, and contradiction creep in, allowing the old state of mind to reclaim dominance. Yet manifestation belongs to those who persist, who remain loyal to their imaginal act until it becomes natural. Imagination is not a one-time effort, but a continual state of awareness. To imagine faithfully is to live inwardly in the end, to return again and again to the feeling of fulfillment until it saturates your consciousness completely. It is through this persistence that the subconscious is impressed, and once impressed, it must externalize that image into form. The subconscious responds to the conviction behind imagination, not to fleeting thoughts or occasional wishes. When you imagine consistently and feel the truth of what you have imagined, you are planting a seed that must bear fruit in due season. Faithfulness means you no longer measure your desire by time or circumstance. You understand that the outer world is a delayed reflection of your inner state, and you no longer seek signs to reassure you. You rest in the knowing that what you have assumed in imagination is already complete, already real in the unseen realm. You carry that inner assurance through every moment of your day, and by doing so, you align your entire being with the reality you have chosen. When doubts arise, you do not fight them. You simply return to the end, to the imaginal act that confirms your desire fulfilled. That return, that inner loyalty, is the mark of faithfulness. To be faithful in imagination is to discipline the mind to see beyond appearances. It is to remember that everything visible once existed as an invisible assumption. The house you live in, the clothes you wear, the technology you use, all were first imagined by someone who believed in the reality of the unseen. They did not wait for proof. They persisted in the unseen vision until it became tangible. This same principle operates in every aspect of life. The faithful imaginer knows that imagination is not mere thought but creative cause. Every time you persist in the imaginal act, you are recreating yourself and, therefore, your world. Faithfulness requires emotional consistency. You cannot imagine wealth and then live in the feeling of poverty, or imagine love and then act from loneliness. You must emotionally align with the state you wish to experience. That alignment is the evidence of faith. It means you have accepted the imaginal reality as your truth and are living from it rather than toward it. The longer you dwell in that feeling, the more natural it becomes, and what feels natural must express itself. Reality bends itself to match your inner conviction, for imagination and faith are the invisible builders of form. When you are faithful to imagination, you move through life calmly, without anxiety or urgency. You understand that the invisible is more real than the visible, and you treat your imaginal world as sacred. Every time you close your eyes and enter that inner scene, you are touching the creative source of all that exists. You commune with the unseen intelligence that fulfills every assumption and every feeling held in faith. Through repetition, your imaginal act becomes a living reality within you, and once the subconscious accepts it as fact, no external power can prevent its manifestation. Faithfulness is the quiet strength that refuses to waver. It is the invisible discipline of belief that continues when results are unseen. To the faithful, imagination is not fantasy but the foundation of all reality. Each imaginal act faithfully maintained draws its physical counterpart closer until the two become indistinguishable. The world will always mirror what you are inwardly faithful to, for outer life has no choice but to follow inner conviction. When you remain steadfast in imagination, feeling it real, living from it, and trusting it without doubt, you merge with the state you desire, and manifestation becomes not a matter of chance but of certainty. The how is not your work. Remain in the end. For the moment you concern yourself with how something will come to pass, you step out of the creative state and back into doubt. The mind that asks how is the mind that does not yet believe the desire is already fulfilled. It is the voice of reason that looks to logic, effort, and visible evidence for assurance. But creation does not unfold through reasoning. It unfolds through faith, through the unseen intelligence that knows perfectly how to bring your assumption to life. The how belongs to the unseen power that shapes all things, and when you try to control it, you interrupt the natural flow of manifestation. Your only task is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and rest in that inner knowing until it becomes natural. Remaining in the end means living mentally and emotionally in the state of your fulfilled desire. It is not pretending, and it is not blind optimism. It is a conscious choice to dwell in the reality you wish to experience before it appears. You let your imagination build the scene that implies your success, happiness, or freedom, and then you take emotional residence there. When doubts appear, you gently return to that end, reaffirming it as true now, not someday. You resist the temptation to analyze, to question, or to demand visible progress. You understand that the outer world must eventually mirror the inner assumption, and that the timing and means are not your concern. The desire itself contains within it everything necessary for its fulfillment. Just as a seed knows how to grow into the tree, without your guidance, your assumption knows how to express itself through life's channels. When you remain faithful to the end, life orchestrates the how perfectly, moving people, circumstances, and events in ways you could never have planned. You are not required to figure out the steps. You are only required to sustain the feeling of the completed desire. The unseen intelligence will take care of the rest with a precision that the rational mind cannot comprehend. Trying to control the how comes from fear, from the illusion that you must make things happen through effort or struggle. But the creative process is effortless when you align with the end. The moment you believe that what you have imagined is already yours, you release resistance. You stop interfering with the natural flow and allow the unseen power to work freely. Every worry, every attempt to manipulate circumstances is like digging up a planted seed to check if it is growing. Faith means leaving it buried in the soil of imagination, trusting that it will sprout in perfect time. Remaining in the end is a discipline of awareness. It requires you to observe your thoughts and emotions and gently redirect them whenever they drift toward doubt or fear. Instead of reacting to appearances, you remind yourself that appearances are the shadows of old assumptions. You no longer take them as truth, but as reminders to return to the feeling of fulfillment. You learn to live inwardly from the state of completion, even when nothing outwardly supports it. That persistence strengthens the belief, and belief crystallizes into fact. To remain in the end also means to surrender the need for control. You stop struggling against what is and rest in quiet confidence. You trust the process even when it seems slow or uncertain. The how may unfold through unexpected paths, through coincidences, inspiration, or sudden changes that make sense only in hindsight. When you look back, you will see how perfectly life arranged the steps that led you to the fulfillment of your desire. Yet none of it required your management. Your part was only to imagine, feel, and believe. Remaining in the end is a way of living. It is to let the desired state become your home, your resting place. You wake each day in the feeling of already having what you desire. You speak and think from that place, not toward it. You no longer chase or wait. You live as though the promise has already been kept. And because consciousness creates reality, the world around you begins to conform to that assumption. The more natural the feeling becomes, the faster it hardens into fact. The how belongs to the infinite intelligence that animates all life. You are not meant to carry that burden. Your role is to envision clearly and believe deeply. You set the direction by imagining the end, and the unseen power arranges the path. This is why worry, impatience, and overthinking only delay manifestation. They pull you away from the end and back into limitation. But when you return to the feeling of fulfillment, you realign with the flow of creation, and all things begin to move in your favor. To remain in the end is the art of faith. It is to see with the inner eye what the outer eye cannot yet see. It is to claim the unseen as real, to rest in its certainty, and to allow life to reveal it step by step. Every creation, every answered prayer, every fulfilled dream begins this way. You assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, let go of how it will happen, and remain steadfast in that inner state until the unseen becomes seen. The how is never your concern, for it belongs to the higher wisdom that knows only fulfillment persists until the assumption feels natural. For persistence is the golden key that transforms imagination into experience. The first moment you assume your desire fulfilled, it may feel unreal or distant. The senses may contradict it, and the reasoning mind may argue that it is impossible. Yet the power of creation does not rest in appearances. It rests in your willingness to remain loyal to the unseen reality until it becomes the only truth you know. When you persist in your assumption with faith and feeling, the outer world must eventually bend to reflect it. The secret is not to make the assumption come true, but to make it feel real within yourself, because the feeling of reality is what impresses the subconscious mind and gives it the command to externalize that state into form. Persistence is not struggle, nor is it effort. It is quiet faithfulness to your inner vision. It means returning again and again to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, no matter how things look on the outside. You are not asked to force results or manipulate circumstances. You are only asked to dwell in the end, to live in imagination, as though your desire were already an accomplished fact. The first few times you do this, it might seem like pretending. But each repetition builds familiarity, and familiarity becomes belief. The longer you occupy that state, the more natural it feels, and what feels natural must inevitably express itself in your world. Every great transformation begins this way. A new state of consciousness can feel foreign at first because it contradicts your past experiences and current evidence. But persistence dissolves resistance. The subconscious mind accepts whatever is repeated with conviction, and once accepted, it automatically creates the conditions necessary to bring that assumption to life. When you persist, you are retraining your consciousness to see yourself differently. You are rewriting the inner script that life must act out. If you stop too soon, you return to the old pattern and the outer world continues to mirror that state. But when you persist beyond doubt, beyond the need for proof, you cross the invisible line where imagination hardens into fact. Persistence means emotional loyalty to your chosen state. You must feel it even when there is no sign of its existence. You must think from it rather than of it. When you think of your desire, you keep it at a distance, as something yet to be achieved. But when you think from it, you become it. You begin to react to life as the person who already has what they wanted. You see differently, speak differently, and make choices aligned with your new state. The more you do this, the more the assumption feels normal. You no longer need to affirm or visualize with strain. The feeling becomes so natural that it feels as though it has always been that way. That is the moment of creation completed, for the subconscious now treats the assumption as a living fact. Persistence also requires ignoring appearances. The outer world is slow to change because it reflects your past assumptions. If you react to what you see, you give life to the old state again. But if you persist inwardly in the new assumption, the old conditions dissolve. Every doubt, every contradiction is merely the dying echo of the old belief. Stay faithful to the new feeling and allow time to carry out the transformation. The unseen process is always working, rearranging circumstances in ways you cannot predict. When you remain calm and confident, you cooperate with that unseen power and hasten its expression. Persistence is love in action. It is the love of your own vision, the decision to stay true to what you have claimed inwardly, even when the world tempts you to give up. When you persist, you are proving your faith in the creative law. You are declaring that imagination, not circumstance, is the master of your destiny. Every time you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you strengthen that conviction. It becomes easier to slip into the state, easier to believe, easier to feel it as done. Eventually, it feels more real than the physical world, and when that happens, manifestation is inevitable. To persist until the assumption feels natural is to walk by faith, not by sight. It is to understand that the unseen governs the seen, that the inner world is always the cause and the outer world the effect. The moment you accept that truth, You stop searching for signs and begin living as the one who knows. You act from certainty rather than hope. You may still face appearances that contradict your desire, but they no longer hold power over you. They are simply the remnants of the old self fading away as the new self takes form. You persist not because you are forcing reality to change, but because you are maintaining awareness of who you truly are. Every desire is already fulfilled in consciousness. Your task is to claim it, to feel it, and to remain faithful until the feeling becomes normal. The mind resists at first, but repetition dissolves that resistance. Just as you learn to identify with your current self through years of repeated thinking, you can learn to identify with your ideal self through persistent imagining. The process is the same: thought, feeling, repetition, acceptance. When acceptance occurs, the new identity expresses effortlessly through life. Persistence is the bridge between imagination and manifestation. It is the act of staying mentally and emotionally connected to your end until the subconscious accepts it as reality. Once that acceptance happens, everything else flows naturally. You will be moved into the right actions, guided toward the right people, and placed in the perfect circumstances without strain. The outer world organizes itself to match the inner conviction. When the assumption becomes so natural that you no longer think of it as a wish, but as a fact of being, creation is complete. The invisible has become visible, and what once existed only in imagination now stands before you as undeniable reality. You are already what you wish to be. Believe it, for creation is finished, and everything you could ever desire already exists within consciousness. The idea that you must become something different or reach for something far away is an illusion created by the limited human mind. The truth is that every potential version of you, every possibility, already lives within the infinite field of awareness that you are. When you desire something, you are not trying to create it from nothing. You are simply becoming aware of that version of yourself, which already exists in another dimension of being. The act of believing, the inner conviction that it is already done, is what bridges the unseen and the seen. The moment you claim it inwardly, you begin to align with that version of yourself, and all of life begins to rearrange itself in harmony with your new assumption. Belief is the doorway to realization. You cannot experience what you do not inwardly accept as true. To believe is not merely to hope, it is to feel the reality of the unseen, and to live as though it were already here. Most people spend their lives identifying with lack, limitation, and waiting, believing they must first see results before they can feel fulfilled. Yet the creative law works in reverse. You must feel fulfilled before you see results. The outer world is not the cause but the mirror. When you believe that you already are what you desire to be, the mirror must reflect that state. There is no effort, no chase, only a shift in consciousness. You become the one who knows instead of the one who hopes. And that inner knowing draws to you every condition necessary for the expression of your belief. To believe you are already what you wish to be is to accept that you are one with the infinite creative power that manifests worlds. You are not separate from it, not a beggar waiting for favor, but the living expression of it. This realization frees you from the sense of striving. You stop searching outside yourself for answers or signs and begin to look within. You understand that all transformation begins in imagination. You imagine yourself as you wish to be, feel the reality of that state, and persist in that inner awareness until it becomes the natural tone of your mind. The outer world cannot resist this transformation because it has no life apart from your consciousness. Belief is the act of spiritual alignment. When you believe, you harmonize your inner vibration with the reality you desire. You may not see it instantly, but in that unseen moment of alignment, creation is complete. Time is only the space it takes for your conviction to crystallize into form. Many abandon their vision too soon because they look for proof instead of maintaining belief. They waver between faith and doubt, never allowing the new state to take root. But belief requires constancy. It is the steadfast knowing that what you have imagined is already yours. It does not depend on sensory evidence, for the unseen is the true source of all that is seen. You are already what you wish to be because you can conceive it. The very fact that you can desire something proves that its fulfillment exists within you. Desire is not a signal of absence. It is the awareness of a greater possibility, calling you to recognize it as self. The version of you who already has what you seek is not far away. It exists within your own consciousness right now. You make contact with that version through imagination and belief. When you close your eyes and feel yourself being the one you long to be, you are not pretending. You are entering the reality where it already exists. The longer you dwell in that feeling, the more natural it becomes. And what becomes natural must express itself in the outer world. Belief is creative participation in the eternal now. It means you stop postponing your happiness, love, or success to a future moment and claim it in the present. You realize that the only time you ever have is now, and within this now you can choose any state of being. If you believe lack is real, you live in lack. If you believe abundance is your nature, you live in abundance. Life simply mirrors back the state you occupy. To believe you already are what you desire to be is to choose the higher state and to persist in it until it becomes your dwelling place. That belief does not merely change what happens around you. It changes who you know yourself to be. Every great achievement begins with belief. The artist, the inventor, the dreamer, all begin by believing in something unseen. They do not wait for proof. They create proof through conviction. You too hold that same power. Whatever you can feel as true will find its way into expression. You are never waiting for life to give you permission to become something more. Life is waiting for you to believe that you already are. The moment belief becomes genuine, your world shifts subtly. You meet the right people, the right opportunities appear, and invisible doors open. What once seemed impossible begins to unfold naturally, without force or strain. To believe is to rest. You no longer struggle to make things happen, because belief itself is creative action. It moves unseen forces that shape the visible world. When you hold a belief with feeling, you are commanding reality from within. The outer mind may not understand how it will happen, but the deeper intelligence that governs all creation knows precisely what to do. Belief removes the question of how and replaces it with quiet certainty. You no longer ask, when will it come? Because you know it already has, and you are merely watching it unfold in perfect order. Belief transforms perception. When you believe you are already what you wish to be, you begin to see the world through the eyes of that new identity. The same situations that once frustrated you now affirm your faith. You interpret events differently, and in that new interpretation lies transformation. Every reaction becomes a reflection of your inner state. If you believe in limitation, you see obstacles. If you believe in fulfillment, you see pathways. The world remains the same, but your vision changes. And because perception shapes reality, your belief literally alters your experience of life. Belief is the silent architect behind all manifestation. It requires no struggle, only acceptance. It is the acknowledgement that creation is already complete, and that you are free to select any state from the infinite possibilities within consciousness. When you assume a belief and persist in it, life must reorganize itself to reflect that assumption. You do not need to convince the world, you need only convince yourself. Once your inner conviction is firm, the outer must obey. You are not creating something new, but unveiling what has always been true of you. The deeper your belief, the faster the unveiling. To believe you already are what you wish to be is to live from fulfillment, not toward it. You think, feel, and act as though it were true. And in that living, you merge with your desire. The old self fades and the new self emerges effortlessly. The law of life responds to certainty, not doubt. When belief becomes complete, manifestation becomes inevitable. You are the cause of all that you experience, and belief is the tool by which you shape that experience. There is no power outside you that can withhold what you inwardly accept as real. The universe is simply a mirror reflecting your belief in yourself. And once you know that you already are what you desire to be, nothing can stand between imagination and its expression.